Can you breeze through a complex calculus problem, but the question, "What's for dinner?" sends you into a state of paralysis? Have you ever successfully managed a multi-million-dollar project, only to be completely defeated by a set of IKEA instructions? If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. There's a fascinating reason why some of the sharpest minds get tripped up by the simplest tasks. It's a paradox that can leave you feeling frustrated and maybe even doubting your own abilities. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden mental traps that turn something mundane into a monumental challenge, and, more importantly, how you can escape them. Because your intelligence shouldn't feel like a prison. It should be your greatest asset in every part of your life. Let's get one thing straight. This struggle has nothing to do with a lack of ability. It's not that you can't follow a recipe or pick a brand of toothpaste. The issue is that your brain, the very same supercomputer that lets you spot patterns, solve complex problems, and think 10 steps ahead, processes these simple tasks in a totally different way. While most people see a simple choice, your mind sees a tangled web of possibilities, potential outcomes, and cascading consequences. This isn't just inefficient, it's mentally exhausting. The energy you burn agonizing over a tiny decision is energy you could be using for the big challenges you actually enjoy. This spiral creates a deep sense of frustration. We have this unspoken societal expectation that smart people should be good at, well, everything. There's this pressure to perform perfectly, even in areas that are way outside your wheelhouse. So when you find yourself struggling with something that looks easy for everyone else, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy or that dreaded imposter syndrome. You start thinking, if I'm so smart, why is this so hard? Here's the heart of the paradox. Your greatest strength, that powerful, analytical mind, can become your biggest weakness in everyday situations. The mental tools you use to deconstruct a scientific theory are the same ones you instinctively apply to choosing a paint color. And that, as we're about to see, is exactly where the trouble starts. Your mind is wired for depth, and when it faces a shallow problem, it just keeps digging, looking for a complexity that isn't even there. So, what's actually going on in your head when this happens? This isn't some personal failing. It's a predictable pattern of cognitive wiring common in highly intelligent people. It really boils down to 4 key psychological drivers that turn simple jobs into Herculean labors. First, and most common, is overthinking overload. Your brain is a high-performance engine, trained to analyze every variable and predict future outcomes. That's a superpower when you're debugging code or forecasting market trends. But when you apply that same intense scrutiny to deciding what to wear, you get stuck in analysis paralysis. You're not just picking a shirt, you're weighing social implications, comfort levels, potential temperature changes, and how it all aligns with your personal brand. Suddenly, a simple choice becomes a complex equation, and your brain freezes, desperate to find the single best answer. The second culprit is a sneaky one called complexity bias. This is our brain's quiet assumption that complex solutions are just better than simple ones. We tend to feel that if an answer is complicated, it must be more thorough or intelligent. Because of this, we might distrust or completely overlook a simple, direct solution because it just feels too easy. For example, you might spend a week designing an elaborate spreadsheet to track your finances, with pivot tables and custom formulas, when a simple budgeting app would have done the job perfectly and saved you hours. This bias can make us feel smart, but it often just leads to overly complicated systems that are a pain to maintain. Third, we have the double-edged sword of overconfidence and the bias blind spot. A long history of being right in complex fields can, understandably, breed a little overconfidence. This might cause you to underestimate a simple task, so you ignore the instructions or skip over critical details. This is compounded by what psychologists call the bias blind spot, the fact that it's way easier to see cognitive biases in other people than in ourselves. Research shows that people with high IQs are just as vulnerable to biases. In fact, they can be even more prone to them because they're better at coming up with clever justifications for their own flawed thinking. So, you might easily spot a logical fallacy in a friend's argument while being completely unaware that complexity bias is running your own show. Finally, there's the difficulty with the mundane. Let's face it, intelligent people are often driven by a deep sense of curiosity. Your mind craves a good workout. It wants to chew on new ideas and challenging problems. Routine, practical tasks like doing the dishes, folding laundry, or filling out forms offer zero intellectual stimulation. To your brain, they are profoundly boring. This lack of interest leads to procrastination and avoidance. It can even make it genuinely hard to do the task because your mind simply refuses to engage with something it finds so trivial. It's not that you can't do it. It's that your brain is actively rebelling against the sheer monotony of it all. These psychological habits aren't just theories. They create real, tangible chaos in our lives. They show up as wasted time, missed opportunities, and a whole lot of unnecessary stress. Think about the workplace. You might have a brilliant strategist who gets so focused on the 30,000-foot view that they completely miss a basic logistical detail, causing a chain reaction of delays that hurts their reputation. Or picture a team of smart people who fall into groupthink. To keep the peace, they might all agree on a ridiculously complex solution for a simple problem because nobody wants to be the one who suggests the dumb, easy answer and risk looking less intelligent. In your personal life, the fallout is just as real. This is why your digital files might be perfectly organized, but your kitchen sink is overflowing. It's why you can spend a whole weekend planning to start a new workout routine, researching different methods, comparing gyms, building the perfect playlist, but you never actually do the workout. That's analysis paralysis in action. The planning feels productive, but it's really just a clever form of procrastination. And then there are the hands-on struggles. Assembling a simple bookshelf can turn into an hours-long saga. Instead of just following the steps, you second-guess the diagrams, question the quality of the screws, and try to invent a better way to build it, only to end up confused and making mistakes. You might read the instructions over and over, searching for some hidden meaning or a trick, and paralyze yourself before you even pick up a tool. This is your brain turning a practical task into a theoretical problem, a space where you feel comfortable but is totally useless for the job at hand. The result? Wasted time, a massive headache, and a bookshelf that's either half-built or leaning like the Tower of Pisa. So, how do you break free from this loop of overanalyzing the little things? Your intelligence is a gift, not a curse. The key isn't to think less, but to get smarter about how you use your mental energy. It starts with awareness. Here are 5 practical strategies you can use to tame that overthinking beast. First, embrace Occam's razor. This timeless principle says that the simplest explanation is usually the right one. When you're facing a simple task, consciously force yourself to find the most straightforward path. Ask yourself, what is the absolute simplest way to solve this? Make yourself try the easy solution first. If you're choosing a restaurant, don't build a spreadsheet. Just pick the one nearby with good reviews. Actively fight your complexity bias by making simple your default setting for everyday choices. Second, use the 5-minute rule. For all those boring, routine tasks you keep putting off, just commit to doing them for 5 minutes. That's it. Anyone can do almost anything for just 5 minutes. The goal isn't to finish the task, it's simply to start. More often than not, getting over that initial hump of resistance is the hardest part. Once you start, you break the cycle of avoidance and often find the momentum to keep going. It's a powerful little trick to outsmart the part of your brain that's rebelling against boredom. Third, outsource your brain for simple decisions. Your mind has a limited daily budget of decision-making power. Stop wasting it on things that don't matter. For low-stakes choices, take your analytical mind out of the game completely. Limit your options to 2 or 3. Flip a coin. Ask a friend to decide for you. Or create simple rules to put decisions on autopilot, like, I only buy one brand of coffee, or Tuesdays are for tacos. This frees up your valuable mental RAM for the problems that actually deserve it. Fourth, conduct a bias audit. Since we all have a bias blind spot, we have to be proactive. The next time you feel yourself getting stuck on a simple task, just pause and ask yourself a few direct questions. Am I making this way more complicated than it needs to be? Am I ignoring the easy solution because it feels too easy? Am I just looking for reasons to confirm what I already believe? By consciously checking in with yourself, you can start to catch these biases in the act and change course before you get lost in the weeds. Finally, practice mindful imperfection. A huge driver of overthinking is the fear of not being perfect at everything. Give yourself permission to not be an expert at all things. It is 100% okay to be a brilliant physicist who can't cook, or a master coder who's awkward at small talk. True intelligence isn't about being flawless, it's about knowing your strengths. Embrace the messy, humbling, and sometimes funny process of being a beginner. Your worth isn't tied to your ability to assemble furniture perfectly on the first try. Learning to direct your powerful mind with purpose is a skill, not a destination. If this conversation resonated with you, and you want more insights into the psychology of how we think and act, make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. And I'm genuinely curious. What's a simple task that you always find yourself overthinking? Is it packing for a trip, choosing a movie, or just answering a simple email? Share your story in the comments below. I promise you'll find you're in very good company. The struggle that smart people have with simple tasks is not a character flaw. It's a real phenomenon, rooted in the exact same mental traits that make you so intelligent in the first place. A brain that defaults to deep analysis, a vulnerability to certain biases, and a mind that craves a real challenge. Your intelligence is not the problem. It's how you've been conditioned to apply it to everything. By recognizing these patterns and actively using strategies like embracing simplicity, limiting your choices, and showing yourself a little compassion, you can break free from the paralysis of overthinking. The goal is not to think less. It's to think smarter about where you invest your incredible mental energy. Reclaim your focus for the problems that truly matter, and give yourself the grace to let the simple things be just that, simple.